Well, hello again, brothers and sisters in Christ. Pastor Mike here. Hopefully, everyone had a Merry Christmas for the beginning of this Christmas season. Everyone is staying healthy. Everyone survived the ridiculous cold and now enjoying this veritable heat wave that we are having. I know it has been wonky from my end, but I hope everyone is doing good. First things on my midweek meditation is just the thought of we are in the middle of this Christmas season. Now, you might say, Pastor, you're a little late to this, aren't you? Well, the secular Christmas season is over, but the church religious Christmas season is, just beginning. It is the 12 days of Christmas that we sing in that song that begins on Christmas Day and goes all the way to like Epiphany when it ends. This is the Christmas season where throughout this time our texts, our reading reflect on this Christ child. And, it kind of even goes through the Epiphany season. But we get these texts about what is happening shortly after the birth. What does it look like? We might get the Song of Simeon. We have these texts, but we still celebrate the birth of the Christ child, which brings us to our interesting text. It is this very, very hard text that is often understood to happen in our calendar, December 28th. It is this Matthean text that talks about what are the ramifications of the birth. So in this Matthew text, we pick up after the wise men have left, after they have come and visited the Christ child, as he is, a couple of years old at this time. And they've brought the gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. But in many ways, to find Jesus, they make a pit stop and visit with Herod. And they say, hey, we're here to see the child that is born king of the Jews. Now, Herod is not a fan of this because Herod wants to be the king of the Jews. And this individual that's just born is a threat. So after the wise men visit, he is expecting them to come back because he asked when they had visited him, hey, gentlemen, can you let me know when you find this Messiah, this, king of the Jews, so I may also go and pay him homage. But they knew and were warned by God himself that Herod was not interested in homage, but in homicide. Two very different things. He was hoping to kill the Christ child to secure his place. Having been warned, the wise men say, yeah, we're not going to go back to Herod. Herod discovers this. Herod figures out that the jig is up. And so in his rage, he goes out and slaughters all of the children under a certain age, I believe 2 years old, to make sure that he can try to kill this king of the Jews. But Joseph, being warned, grabs his wife, grabs his baby, and they head for Egypt. They get out of Dodge. They get somewhere safe. They flee for their lives as an irate king is trying to murder them. That is such a different ending to this Christmas season than we're used to. We like to imagine that it was just peaceful from here on out once he is laid in the manger, but it is not the case. Over and over again, when we hear about Christ and the Christ child, the world is none too happy. So what's the point of all this? What is the midweek meditation? How do you preach on this? It's always an interesting one. But it is in many ways just the reminder that as much as we want the world and the powers that be to be like, yay, Jesus, that is not their responsibility. That's not their world in many ways. And it is often a good reminder to know and be grounded in what God is doing and not expect the world to have us be grounded in God. It is our responsibility. It is our thing. And because Joseph was grounded, the wise men were grounded, they were able to handle the situation well. This comment can often be taken in a lot of different ways. My hope is always not anti-anything, but pro-Christians understanding that it is our responsibility to be grounded in the faith, and that it is not anyone else's, any institution besides the churches to keep us grounded in the faith, because from the get-go, they failed. And so We should not expect them to do that. We should not judge them by that. That might rub some people the wrong way, but ultimately, at the end of the day, even as I raise boys, what is our responsibility? What is our responsibility as a church? To keep people grounded in the faith. That's what we do. And we should always be focused on that is our responsibility. This might be a weird midweek meditation, but it's a weird and a hard text that often pulls us up short. And some days I think it's always hidden around New Year's Day because not a lot of people come to worship on that day. But brothers and sisters in Christ, regardless, be mindful about what is our call, our responsibility as Christians, and to keep that firmly in front of us. Again, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying there's going to be ups and downs or strikes or gutters. Shoot, I know over the past month, trying to keep people grounded in the faith has been weirdly hard by all the chaos the world has been thrown at me. Now, that's not anybody's fault or anybody's responsibility but my own. And Lord willing, the creek don't rise, we can keep doing it and keep on it. Again, it is a hard text, brothers and sisters. It's hard, especially for people who have lost children, to hear that text. It is hard for people who have, come from war-torn areas and who had to leave. It's hard hearing that text because, man, there are people in Ukraine and other places of conflict who have literally had to do what Joseph did with their family. I don't want my child to be destroyed by a bomb. So even in the midst of hard texts, we need to ask ourselves, what is God calling us to do? What is God calling me to be? And hopefully that is the lens that we can approach this Sunday, because it's always interesting to preach from. Well, blessings, brothers and sisters in Christ. Hopefully throughout this Christmas season into the Epiphany, you have some time to rest, to contemplate, to meditate on what God is calling you into in the new year. And hopefully it is faithful. Hopefully it is good. Hopefully it is holy. Blessings, brothers and sisters. We'll talk to you soon. Bye now.